The Curate's Egg, Ashraf Ali Thanvi, Part 20, Ornamental Femininity, Orthodoxy.
Who was in 1800s. Hazrat Thanvi rahimahullah passed away in 1940s.
Yes.
41 or 42. He graduated from Darul Deobandi in 1892 under Maulana Yaqub Nanotwi. Maulana Yaqub Nanotwi was his teacher. So he was not in 1800s. This book, Baheshti Zewar, he wrote around after 1910. And so for you to give a legitimate opinion, you have to be qualified. And what I noticed after watching this video, that this main component was missing.
Musab, you spoke about
you wanna listen to that clip?
If you have it.
Yes. Let's see how it starts off.
Ashraf Ali Thanvi.
Mr. Thanvi.
Yes.
Thanvi. Or Thanvi.
Thanvi.
So are you a fan of Thanvi? Because when you guys were in Egypt, me and my brother, the famous book.
So the third guy say, are you a fan
a fan of Thanvi?
Not Thanvi.
Thanvi, yeah.
So none of these three people were able to pronounce his name correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to watch it again.
Baheshti Zewar, written by who?
Ashraf Ali Thanvi.
Mr. Thanvi.
Mr. Thanvi. Okay. Yes.
So in part 20, I'm going to split this into two parts, even though technically that's not necessary because this information could actually be comfortably placed in one part, but I felt it necessary to divide between orthodoxy and orthopraxy. This introductory segment is one Mufti called Mufti Yasir Nadim Al-Wajidi, and he's being interviewed by another Deobandi. And the super embarrassing thing about this is, apart from the pronunciation of Ashraf Ali Thanvi's name, everything else he says in this segment is wrong. And the thing that makes it so embarrassing is because he's actually talking about being correct and being accurate and knowing your stuff. The speaker knows nothing about what he's talking about. Here are the examples. He first takes note that it's the 18th century. So what's happening is he's responding to a podcast that was attacking the Deobandis for their cult-like, pedophilic, pederastic prostitution, and their cult-like nature. And that podcast is called the Mad Mamluks podcast, and the section on that will come on the Gletkin Rubishov channel. But he's responding to them, and he's saying these guys are ignorant because they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, he gets nothing right whatsoever in this segment here. He says first of all that, why are they talking about the 18th century? Ashraf Ali Thanvi was born in 1863. So technically that's the 19th century because it's 1863. It is the 19th century, but he is born in 1863. So to say 1800s, it's not deceptive in that sense. That's wrong. Number two, he says he graduates in 1892. No, he didn't graduate in 1892. He graduates in 1883. You got that wrong. Then he says that Baheshti Zewar, which is the book that we're discussing and studying in these two parts, the Heavenly Ornaments, was published after 1910. No, it was published in 1901. That's another thing that he gets wrong. And then he says, Ashraf Ali Thanvi dies in 1841 or 1842. Wrong. He dies in 1943. He says he dies in 1941-42. He dies in 1943. This is super embarrassing. You only had one job, and you're boasting about being technically accurate, and these guys don't know what they're talking about, and you say everything. You get every date wrong. You get the publishing date wrong, you get the death date wrong, you get the birth period wrong, you get the graduation period wrong. It's just really ridiculous. This is the scholarship that Deobandis produce. This is the people that are sent to defend Ashraf Ali Thanvi. So, it's just super embarrassing, and I just think you should be made aware of that. But anyway, this section is about the orthodoxy or the heterodoxy displayed by Ashraf Ali Thanvi in his book known as Baheshti Zewar, which means the heavenly ornaments. And before we get into the book, we should talk about how important this book actually is for Deobandis. Here on page 206, there is a study that was done in Leicester in 2004 to 2006 in England, and Rana Bukhari showed the continuing significance of heavenly ornaments in a western city located thousands of miles away from the Indian home of this revivalist text. And she said that Bukhari, the author, the researcher, analysed Gujarati Muslim women in Leicester who inherit Thanvi's legacy in multiple ways, ranging from identification to disidentification with moral councils. The footnote is interesting here because there's a very famous scholar called Fazlur Rahman who said in the late 19th century, Ashraf Ali Thanvi, and he gets the date wrong as well, or this researcher, which is research done at Leeds University, says 1842. We technically know it's 1843. A scholar from Deoband Seminary wrote an encyclopedic work for women called Baheshti Zewar, and he translated it as Jewelry of Paradise, which gave exhaustive instruction on traditional lines, not only on Islamic subjects, but on cookery and hygiene. This voluminous work, to which the author continued to make additions and which has passed through scores of editions, was customarily given by parents as part of her dowry to every bride who could read, and in the traditional circles the practice still continues. That was University of Chicago, 1982. So this is how important this text is. It's given to every single bride. The problem, and why I've titled this section Orthodoxy, is because it's heterodox. If you read page 27, it actually states, page 27 states, the God of such interactions is at once the awe-inspiring God of formal doctrine and the God of predictable human responses, the stern and demanding Father, Allah Mian, and that's pronounced Allah Minya. There's a different pronunciation, but it's written Allah Mian. This title for God is an unusual one, apparently unique to Urdu, which has no equivalent in languages such as Arabic or Persian. To call Allah Allah Mian is to make him comprehensible and familiar, to anthropomorphize the absolute, as Muslims have characteristically sought to avoid. This is heterodoxy. This is against the standard Islamic practice. They describe God, Allah, as a father. That's page 27, and it continues on page 28. I'll give you the screenshot. Read, grasp, apply, persist, achieve. So, page 67. The researcher, and this is Barbara Daly Metcalf, who's done a partial translation of this, she again reiterates this heterodoxy, describing Allah with human attributes, an elder, a fatherly figure. It says, only in point 9, when God is anthropomorphized as Allah Miya, does he revert to the plural. So this is, again, she's mentioning it 2-3 times in her book. These people anthropomorphize God, and she states on page 28, this is characteristically something Muslims do not do. This is a huge problem inside this book, Baheshti Zewar, and yet these Deobandis will give it to their newly betrothed, newly married daughters on their wedding nights. Stay away from this author, stay away from this book. Stick around for part 21, where we will talk about orthopraxy. Stay tuned.